stamp right there. Hi everyone, wish you all a good next 24 hours. Welcome, and you would have been, I do hope you enjoy your stay. Yeah, that seems to be pretty set in stone. 98% baby. Oh yeah, bring the torches and pitchforks. Here we go. This one I'm a bit hopeful for, right? Because it sounds like it's someone coming to good realizations, right? I, 28M, I finally realized my girlfriend, 27F, isn't nagging. I'm just not respecting her concerns. Just as how am I supposed to nag? I often don't use the word nagging in my head because I falsely think that's just a dirty word that only shitty partners use. So instead I think of things like she's neurotic, or a control freak, or being too hard on me. Which is even worse when somehow it's getting me distanced from and lying to myself about what I'm doing. It creates a cycle where she will tell me to do something and ask me to do it differently. I mean, this depends. I'm assuming because of the title, like it's gonna be something that matters, but like, is someone doing, micromanaging, backseat driving kind of stuff? That can certainly be annoying. But is it like something else, or like boundary pushing or something? I don't know, man. I apologize, but internally I don't see where she's coming from or think why she actually cares. Internally, that sounds like it's going to lead to a lot of resentment, I'm going to be honest. Like, it's okay to just accept someone else's wishes and their boundaries, even if you yourself don't understand them. I think that's pretty important about some basic empathy with a partner or something. They can have discomforts that aren't your discomforts, and then just listening to it might be enough. You don't have to, like, completely understand everything. I would argue it's impossible in a lot of cases because our lived experiences are so different. Understanding might not be the main point, but respecting it and realizing not everyone's the same is the reasonable thing to do. But this, of course, sounds like internally I don't see where that sounds like it's building up resentment. The Ogander, thank you so much, Lasso. I get defensive if I'm telling myself why I did it and twisting it into her for not understanding why I did it in the first place. I mean, that sounds like something you need to talk about in that case, or you mention it in the moment. She's like, why are you doing it this way? Then it'd be like, oh, I thought about it like this. She's like, oh, but I think this is better. Then you can decide, it's like, okay, I see where you're coming from. I still think my way is better. Your way is better. Whatever. But it also depends so much on what it is. Like, is this individual boundaries, or it's like how you stand for the dishwasher? Like, what's the context? Sometimes I'll explain my reason, which gets respectfully but firmly shut down, rightly so on her part, and then I play the victim and think I'm being invalidated. Then I repeat the behavior. She's upset because I clearly didn't listen or take it seriously enough to change last time, and I feel a growing resentment. Yeah, there it is. That's kind of called it. Like, if he's doing this internally, that's gonna lead to growing resentment of being criticized all the time. It's so toxic and it's hurting our relationship. I do love her and respect her, but at the moment I just think of myself and throw her under the bus. She doesn't deserve that. Not my change. I mean, that's sort of self-aware, though, I suppose. Like, this post gets half a gold star because it's someone that actually realizes that, hey, this is a problem. How do I fix it? Right? That's pretty good. Obviously, communication is key. Just sit her down and be like, hey, this is how I feel internally when this happens. I'm not sure if this is valid or not, but I feel we need to talk about it. But that is okay. Sometimes you will feel things, and then when you talk about it, you'll realize, oh man, my first gut feeling was kind of off. That can happen, but it's important to talk about because otherwise it just builds up resentment. Actions speak louder than words. Listen to what she's been saying and then act on those words. I mean, if you agree with it, otherwise talk about it. And it also depends heavily on what it is. Like I said, is this like petty arguments about like how you like folding your socks in the drawers, or is it more personal boundaries or something more serious? Like, what's the context? Don't get me wrong, both can build up resentment over time, but that of course varies a lot. Read this article. She divorced me because I left lifts by the sink. It wasn't a big deal to me when I was married, but it's a big deal to her. He was too fixated on whether he thought things were important. For reasons, he left his glass by the sink instead of putting it in the dishwasher. I may use it again. I don't care if a glass is sitting by the sink. I will never care about a glass sitting by the sink anymore. It's impossible. It's like asking me to make myself interested in crocheting or enjoy yard work. If he truly didn't care about the glass, he could uncaringly put it in the dishwasher. What he did care about was proving that he'll do things his way. Now he's divorced. Your reasons are simple. The client can't stand it, you say. And that's a good enough reason to distract. treated. Why the frick should the cat have to stand it? Or a cat? Maybe don't start from the position if they can manage to stand it. I'm not doing anything wrong. I mean, yeah, it can also feel like it's something very small, but it's more about the communication and the respect and the vibe over time. The guy who live here, woman, read this reminds me of some guys I met IRL. It makes me feel like they don't see me as a person. Yeah, that's all. That's very true. That's very true. It feels more like numbers. You're arguing about like dishes and be like, oh my god, you don't see your partner as a human. It's like, okay, that's a bit steep. You can just agree that you were petty about dishes. Like, fuck. Oh man. Everyone is a butt slide buttness. No one actually mistreated the cat here, unfortunately. That's what I was like. Those two binaries in this one. We need more context vote. Yeah, it also depends on what it is. Like, are you talking about dishes? We can also talk about personal issues. Because I could totally see, backseat driving and stuff. Someone asks you to do something or help with something, but then they're very backseaty in how you do it. It's like, but then just do it yourself. Like, do it. Oh my god. Like, I can see that being an annoyance, but it also completely depends on the context and how you communicate it and what it is. Why does I have to feel that way about dishes on the side of the sink? And what if she decides to leave a cup on the side? Does this survive the gender swap test? That's also a very good point. Sometimes the stories get vastly different depending on it. I would argue the example about the dish thing would still hold up if you reversed the genders. If it was like the wife in that instance is leaving it by the dishes and insisting it's not messy even though it's bothering him, I would at least want to judge it the same way. But I could also imagine there is a bias. I know that these kind of Reddit posts can have a bias sometimes, one way or another. I think it depends a lot on which demographic finds the post first. In my experience, some posts I've seen, for example, on this event was like a truck driver, for example. There were so many people who didn't even understand what truck driving was for a job. They're making these really nasty assumptions about the dude. It was insane. That for me, for example, felt like, okay, people in a certain demographic found this post first. Bias is unfortunately something most people can't help to have, yeah. But it's kind of a helpful thing. Gender swapping stories is pretty helpful to have a healthy discussion. Truck driver bought his gaming rig? Yeah. I still think that story needed more communication from both parties. But there were a lot of comments that were nasty. Really nasty. All of this creepy behavior. Having female friends has ruined my hopes of dating. Any advice on how to regain hope and confidence? Okay. Usually female friends is a positive when you want to get into dating, because they usually have a bunch of friends and stuff. And also, usually, in my experience, women vouching for dudes is one of the best grades you can get when it comes to other women. But let's see where this goes. Ask men advice. This is a Reddit I kind of like from time to time, I'm gonna be honest. It's just do it's sometimes skewing towards an older demographic talking about life and stuff. Not always. Every so often it's like nuggets that are both gold and brown, but let's get into it, shall we? Having female friends has ruined my hopes of dating. I need advice on how to regain my confidence. I'm a 23-year-old male. I'm friends with a variety of people from different backgrounds. However, something that's been extremely common among my female friends scares me. Example 1. Female friend 1 tells me about her guy came up to her and expressed feelings for her. She told me she hated every second of it and said the guy was a gross creep. Okay, I mean, what if he was though? I saw the guy and he was normal looking and was actually pretty kind. I've talked to him before. Okay, this is sort of like a fallacy that I see in more context than just this. Just because he's nice to you doesn't mean that he's nice to everyone. I've had this experience with dudes as well, right? Like dudes that will treat me perfectly fine because I am a tall, wide-shouldered dude and they would never mess with me. But then I hear from one of my lady friends that like, yeah, this dude was fucking creeping on me and trying to grope me in places. It's like, oh. And I know that of course he would never try that with me because 1, he's probably not interested. You know, 2, it wouldn't end well, you know. So this is a fallacy that I've seen in person many times, almost as if creeps are only creepy to the people they desire. Yeah, I have actually had this exact attitude from women as well. This is not like a man exclusive thing either. I have had women who have been really creepy and like stalker-esque and stuff, and then I've had other women be like, but they probably didn't miss you, or they're probably just this and that. And it's like, okay, that doesn't justify it at all. What the hell? They were nice when I spoke to them. Yeah, but they were creepy towards me. What the fuck? Of course they weren't creepy towards you. They're not obsessively stalking you, harassing you. Bruh. So I think that's also like a demographic bias. If you are, this is actually something you talked about with the lady friend at some point, and we talked about it. It was kind of a nice conversation because, well, not nice because of the topic, but I think it speaks a lot about like demographic biases. Like when I think about my experience, for example, when I deal with people that have been stalky or people that are gropey when you're at parties, people that send you inappropriate messages, get really possessive and aggressive. 90% of it has been women. My lady friends about it. 100% are dudes. You know? And it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Because most of the people that would find me interesting enough on a romantic level to be obsessive and creepy are gonna be ladies. And 90% of the people who would find my lady friends interesting in a romantic way to be creepy and aggressive are dudes. I'm not saying like one side has it. I'm not saying that like my experience would be worse. I think one thing I realized is that just the physical difference in itself has a completely different threat level to it. For example, that doesn't make one thing okay or whatever, just a justification. But there is certainly a bias in demographics, and I think this plays into that exact bias. It's like you wouldn't experience the creepiness from this dude because he's not interested in sleeping with you. You know? So, this isn't a red flag in the least. This is just you experiencing and not being aware of that bias. He's like, okay, keeps clearing his throat. I'm okay. My throat is just like getting a little bit dry. That's why I'm drinking water. Yeah, I've not been the victim of harassment, so they're a kind person. It's the same thing as saying, man, I'm not a kid experiencing bad stuff in school, so I think the one was a nice guy. Yeah. Or it's basically, you can also see the same kind of justification with like the these stories. I've seen like what they were nice when I talked to them, but okay. But do you think they abuse every single person they meet? Do you think there's like a creepy stalking person towards every single person? Probably not. To be fair, some pros, creepy behavior from people could be an emergency. I would need more context to determine if any of these men are actually creepy or not. I mean, yeah, there is definitely a difference between like
Yes, I used creative mode to build my house.
Did it? It probably did.
Well,
Oh,
to
yeah.
finish
You
it.
should pick legitimately well made game. But, okay, it's fine. I make dice choice. Those random dice can stop rolling when an evil's gonna be successful. I think so too. Like, female and male is fine terms when you talk about it more scientifically. Like, you know, oh, the female demographic, the male demographic, whatever, like, sure. But, yeah, I know what you mean. Example 2. A female friend who tells me about how this guy came up to her table while she was eating at a restaurant. And she messaged me, get over here and get this guy away from you. I go over there and just tell him that, hey, sorry, this is fine. It was a two-person table. He said, no worries, we're over the nice one. And it was also really friendly. Female friend proceeds to tell me how creepy he was. I mean, this is also like a bias example, right? I have seen this plenty of times when, for example, a dude won't let up. They won't take like a no for an answer. Or sometimes it can also be that the one they question is scared of saying no because they may trust other people in the past who are really bad at taking a no, so they get aggressive. But if there's another dude in the picture, it changes. A lot of dudes will act way more respectful if there is a person present. So like this person, this is just like demographic bias. Like of course you're not gonna experience the same person as creepy because they just want to sleep with you. You know, it's like that's pretty obvious, man. That doesn't mean he wasn't acting weird or creepy. And number 2, that's also a classic saying. Like if you're worried about, for example, even if she didn't outright say no, it can also be because she was worried about how the dude would react. And it's a very easy save. It's like, man, this guy's coming on to me. I don't want to deal with a potential bad rejection, you know, because that can happen. Can you just come over and pretend to be my boyfriend so I don't have to deal with this? That's perfectly reasonable. That is perfectly reasonable. Why not? And it's not like the dude was hurt from it, you know? She wasn't interested one way or another. He was like, oh yeah, it was a nice day, whatever. Man, that's just a normal thing. Avoiding potential uncomfortable situations. Example 3. If you want to argue this way, like you know some people in the story would say that, oh, well, then she wouldn't do this. Don't know how to story, but my stranger, I had it happen. I had a few times when I had been in a someone is putting on their uncomfortable way. It's like, ooh, I'm just really stupid. Oh my god, there's nothing creepy here. I'm gonna fuck. You know, there's nothing to it. You know, you don't always have like a weird combination of things. Like, if you want to make them argument, you should make the same argument as well. When I was reading the law today, I was told that it's nice, you know. Yeah, but I should be told that things. Example 3. A female friend tells me about how a friend that was male asked her out on a date, and she said she was so mad that the guy would ruin their friendship by asking her that. And it's just some of the context. It's okay to not be interested in someone just because they're your friend. It's also okay to get a crush on someone that is a friend. And then it's up to the two of you how you want to deal with it. Do you want to keep being friends and you try to get over the feelings, or do you do you give each other space to let each other love? Like, this is just classic like friendship situations that doesn't let anyone is into. You know, sometimes it's dangerous to say no. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't know how strangers can act. Sometimes they can get those sort of vibes. You know, I think if you have encountered people like that before, you can sometimes pick up on the vibes early. That it's like this person's like something is on edge. Something is slightly off. This person could snap. You know, it's not always correct, but that intuition is like you can kind of tell after a while who's going to be trouble. And I've realized my intuition with that kind of stuff has gotten better over the years. I was, for example, at a party a while ago, and I was like, everyone here is super nice. Those two dudes over there, they're going to be trouble when they get more drunk. And I was absolutely right. You could tell right away. One of them was like super, I mean, it wasn't anything super weird over the up, but one person was trying to hit on everyone, but like in a comfortable way, even though they weren't single. You know, not to the extent where you would like go over and like literally throw them out, but it's like, you know, they're being a little come on, bro. And the other guy was like really evasive with asking everyone weird questions, right? So it wasn't like anyone was going out of the way to be like super violent or anything like that. But you know, I could tell right away, like, I got these two bros. They're gonna be they're gonna be weird in a couple hours, and they were. Who would have thought it? Sometimes those vibes just kind of leak through, and when the alcohol hits, and they're not like masking it anymore, then there you go. The Xantham is off the fun. So I don't know. In these kind of cases, I have certainly gotten vibes from people in context from like, yeah, I probably shouldn't engage in confrontation with this person, even if the confrontation is as simple as saying no, because they have very escalatory vibes, for example. And then it's much easier to just have someone come over and be like, oh my god, they are my partner. Wow, what an easy way to disarm the situation. This all makes me extremely jaded. Let's go to anyone ever again. Any advice for people with the same thoughts before? I mean, to this dude as well, I would say no, none of this is worth getting worked up about. Like example 3, that's on them. That's on them to figure out. Stuff like this happens. This doesn't mean that anyone is a butthole, right? Sometimes you can develop crushes on friends. That happens. We are human. Sometimes that is not reciprocated. That happens. We are human. It's up to you guys to figure it out, right? But there is nothing to be jaded about in these situations. Like this first one, I would say, this just sounds like sample bias. You wouldn't experience creepiness. Who is right? Example 2 is just like disarming a situation in an easy way without having to deal with a confrontation or saying no to someone you don't know how they're going to react. Like this is a super easy way to disarm something, right? This is essentially the same level as just playing stupid when someone asks you to use someone. It's like, oh, look over there, it's a word, you know? And this one is just like, that's on them to figure out their little fucking crushes or whatever. This is not something to be jaded over. This is not something to be jaded over. I feel like this dude is, I mean, he sounds like he's sort of there for his friends, except when it's like, this feels, nah, okay, wait, I'll reformulate. The first story, it sounds like he's dismissing her experience and some bias. And the second one, he's technically on her side, like, he doesn't think she wants to get away from the situation. But then he doubts it anyway. He's like, he was friendly. Yeah, he was friendly to you. Okay? He was friendly to you because he thought it was your girlfriend. Alright? Those are the same thing. So I feel like he's misguided. You're a misguided young dude. This is how you view these things. And you're probably not picking up on the same things. You know? I can tell from experience that one thing that weirded me out, for example, did he put stuff in common? Let's see. Here we go. It's worth noting, I mean, this is an OP, but this is not a comment. It's worth noting that there's probably things about these interactions around seeing for reasons beyond your control. Like, I'm not trying to bash on you here and call you ignorant to see what's wrong. It's wrong conclusions and incomplete information, and based on information you have, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with these guys. But being approached by a stranger who then confesses their feelings is weird. If this person doesn't know you, if they don't know you, what feelings? It's unless they're being stalking you or something. Yeah, that's also valid. Yeah, and also that, like I said, it's also like a sample of this don't get the creeps necessarily from someone who's not coming on to you. Like a person can be creepy towards someone that they are interested in, and act completely normal with someone else they're not interested in. Okay, that happens. Number 2 is eating alone at the restaurant. You shouldn't have just joined them or try to hit on them. That is super. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that in my life. And I don't think it's done that to me either. I don't think I would take that particularly well, I'm gonna be honest. There's probably details to this interaction left out, possibly because they're embarrassing to one or both of the involved parties. And if they've been friends for a long time and he approached them clumsily, he might have given up the impression that he never really was her friend, just a guy waiting for her to be single. Yeah, that can be interpreted in many ways. Like, either he was only there because he was trying to get with her from day one, maybe he developed a crush for a long period of time, maybe they were like overly cuddly and stuff for sparked emotions. There's no versions of this story. There is no context. It's their shit to figure out, man. Man. You're missing a lot of nuance in these interactions, and some of it is hidden from your view. By some, it sounds like you're missing because you're less familiar with respect to other women in these interactions, which, is okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're still a young dude who honestly hasn't seen much yet. Stick around, continue to be a safe person for women who ask help. You'll gain that familiarity with time and friendship. One thing just came to my mind, a really good comparative situation, right? A friend of mine who works as a teacher. And he occasionally gets like angry calls from parents, like, "Why did you write my little angel up? Why did my angel get a bad grade in your class? It can't possibly be them." Or for example, there was an instance of drama in their class when a few of like the classical troublemakers had stolen something from another student, that kind of thing. And he sent an email home to the parents and be like, "Hey, be look out for this thing because I think one of your kiddos has it." And one of the parents called him and was super upset. He's like, "How dare you accuse my little angel? He would never do this." And at first, my teacher very much apologetic, but he was like, "Oh, wait a second. You don't actually know jack shit. He's done this before. Just because from your perspective, you want your little angel to be innocent and perfect, doesn't actually mean that he's not an angel. He's stolen things at 4 more situations at the school. He's a little rascal. He's a little rascal. And that reminds me so much of the situation, just because you as a dude haven't experienced that creepiness from another dude, doesn't mean he's not being creepy towards people that he finds romantically interesting. He wouldn't creep on you. He doesn't want to sleep with you. Why would he creep on you, right? And the same thing happens in that teacher situation. It's like, you don't actually see how your kid acts at school. It's a different context, right? You don't actually see how he treats his classmates or if he's a little shitty bully, That reminds me so much of this. It's the same kind of like observational bias or whatever you want to call it. It just reminded me of that. I think it's a very good comparative situation that is a bit less controversial than perhaps. Obi likes information short, but I think he, at the age of 20 plus, should be more aware of the differences in perspective. I think he should be. If I think back when I was 23, I was pretty naive. I was never this. At least I don't think so. But certainly not informed and experienced as I was today, which makes sense because I'm 10 years older now. But 23 is quite young. A lot of people don't get into like relationships or have friends of the opposite sex, for example, are a little bit old. Like at 23, experience with relationships and stuff that apparently when it came to the stuff. At least from the perspective of other people, I had a couple of relationships myself, but not nearly enough to have a nuanced perspective about these sort of situations. I don't think so. He's still pretty. I feel the dude just needs to understand other perspectives and views. Yeah, like one good reality check is to turn it around. Like I think one thing that made me very open to these sort of situations and made me see through them very easily was the fact that I experienced the exact opposite. When I had someone who was a woman who was creeping on me, and I told another woman, like, "Yeah, this person is creepy," and a couple